Today, I'm going to show you how to create a logo from scratch and then put it onto an image in perspective. Hey guys, and welcome to Phlearn. My name is Aaron Nason. You can find me on Phlearn.com, where we make learning Photoshop and photography fun. And today's episode is going to be fun. We're making a logo from scratch. I'm going to show you guys how to take a couple different letters and place them together, and we're even going to create like a little mountaintop and some surroundings to actually create a logo. Then what we're going to do is apply it onto a truck in perspective in Photoshop, giving you all the necessary tools you need so you can create a logo on your own and then place it into a photo in perspective. So here's our image for today. We've got an 18-wheeler, which gives us a perfect amount of space right here on the side of the truck. So my goal is to design a logo that's going to look good here on the side of the truck, as well as fit this space and then transform it into the side of the truck. So keeping in mind, I want it to look kind of like a trucking company logo. Keep it nice and simple, big block letters, so you can read it from far away and things like that. And I want to create something that's going to look good in that horizontal format. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with our logo. I'm just going to create a background real quick. So we're going to go to my adjustment layers, and I'm going to go up here to solid color. All right, and I'm just going to give like a light gray as my background color, just so I can see what I'm working on. You guys should probably know that before this episode started, I spent like an hour and a half creating logos, and then like most of them sucked, and then I got one that I actually liked. So I'm going to be recreating that. So if you're like, dang, Aaron just thought of that logo and created it in real time, that's not the case. I spent a lot of time trying to make this logo before the episode. Not saying it's amazing, but if it takes you more than 2 minutes to do, you're a normal person. Okay, let's go ahead and see. We're going to start off with the type tool. I love using text as like graphics. So I thought, I want two big letters in this. What better letters than an A and then another A? My name is Aaron, starts with 2 A's. So we're going to be playing on the same theme here. Okay, so here's an A. We can just start with this one, and we can duplicate it as we need to. You know what? I need to see what I'm actually doing here with my text. So I'm going to go to Window, and then down here to Character. Okay, and here I can choose all these different dynamics about my A. Let's just zoom in so we can see. First is I'm going to change the color. From black, we're going to change this to white. That looks good. Now the type that I'm using, the font is Avenir Next Heavy Italic, and this is going to be totally up to you. Use whatever fonts that you want, whichever fonts are going to give you the right look. Obviously, for a trucking company, we want like big block letters. If you were doing something, like a journal or something like that, you might use a different font, or even something with a little bit of script. But for now, we want big, chunky block letters. Okay, and I want 2 of these A's. I want them to line up really well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring out my ruler tool. We're going to hold Control and hit R. So Control R is going to bring up my ruler tool, and now I'm going to click from the outside and drag from the left to the right in, which creates one of these green guys right here, and this is called a guide. So if you ever need a guide, you can drag it from the top and from the bottom. They're really great to just kind of see what you're doing in Photoshop. They don't actually make any adjustments in the image. They're not a part of the photo. It's just a guide to see what you're doing. Okay, so that looks great. Now, I want to go ahead and transform this layer, because I actually want this this line here, I want this to be straight up and down. So I'm going to hit Control or Command T, and then see about transforming this layer right here. So what we're going to do, Control or Command T, and now I'm going to hold the Control key and click right up here on the top. And you can see I'm able to like bring this horizontally, which is going to change this line. Okay. There are a couple things you want to keep in mind. So we're holding the Control key, clicking here. Now you can see it's letting me go up and down right now too, which is going to totally change the proportion of my A. We don't want that. So make sure you hold the Shift key as well, and that's going to keep you in the right aspect ratio. Okay, so bringing this over to the right side, my goal here, remember, is to make it basically just like it's standing straight up and down. And that looks pretty good. We're going to hit enter there. I'll bring this guide right over here just to see, if we got it. If not, do the same thing. Control or Command T, and then click that top point and move it over. All right, and you know what? That is pretty dang good. Let's bring it over one little click. Okay, so now I just basically transform that A so it's pointing straight up. Let's bring this guide over to the left. I don't need it anymore. You know what? Let's bring it back. We might need it. By the way, if you want to get rid of a guide, just click on it. Make sure you're on your move tool. Click on the guide, and then just drag it off to the left. Drag it right back on when you need it again. Okay, so that looks great. Now, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this A because I want it to make it look like it's a graphic. Again, we've got two A's, and I want them to be side by side. We're going to create kind of like a mountain effect. So we're going to hit Control Command J on this A, Control Command T, and I'm going to flip this horizontally. All right. There we go, and we're going to place it right about there. So this is the base of our mountain. So we just stuck two A's together, and now we have a logo, which is, if that's all you want to do, perfect. But I want to get a little bit more complex. But before I start actually working with my logo, I'm going to do a little bit of a sketch. It's going to help me get a better idea of what I actually want out of the logo, and then I can create the best way of getting in there and actually making it the right way. So whenever you want to create a sketch in Photoshop, and I do this all the time, just grab a hard edge brush. And in this case, I know that I want like a little peak right here. I want this to be up there to kind of connect the A's together. And this is going to be white. I just grabbed a red paintbrush. But the one thing that I want to do, because I'm a little bit detail oriented, is I want the distance between this and this to be the same as the distance between the bottom of the peak, it's supposed to be an arrow, the bottom of this guy, and the top of the A. So again, this distance here, I want to be the same as that distance there. Not only that, but I want this A, the same line basically to continue to make the top of the arrow, and I want that one to do it too. So rather than just sticking a triangle any old size up there, I want to make sure that this dimension is the same as this dimension, and I want to make sure that it looks like it's a continuation of those lines. So that's my goal. Now let's go ahead and see how we're going to do that. You'll be pleasantly surprised that we don't need to use any complex tools in order to get this job done, even though it is slightly what I would consider mathematical. We're going to start off with our polygonal lasso tool. That's right over here under the lasso tool, and it basically allows you to connect straight lines, and when you hit enter, it just creates a selection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a selection from right down here on the bottom left of this A, and we're going to go all the way up here, and what you can see is I'm trying to make this line, you can see where it's connected. I'm trying to make it but right up to there, but I can't stop there because I needed to make the triangle. So I'm going to make sure that it goes all the way up there. All right, that looks pretty good. And you know what? We're just going to fill it right in here, and then I'm just going to fill this with a color. It looks actually pretty horrible right now, but in a second you'll see. Basically, I just need this line of my triangle. We're going to create each of the three lines independently. Okay, so I've got that. Let's go ahead and just fill this with my foreground color, which in this case is this nice red. All right, we're going to lower the opacity on this just a little bit. Next, what we're going to do is use our lasso tool. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to click there on the bottom side of that A. We're going to go all the way up to here. And now I'm going to select out this area and then just hit delete. So you can see how this starts up from this A, that one starts up from that A. Okay, now my next goal here is I'm going to make a selection right inside of here, holding down the Shift key with the marquee tool. So now we've got a selection that's the same exact width as this space there. And now I want to bring this same thing. Remember, we wanted the width here to be the height here. So I'm going to bring my selection up there. Now this is cool. Right click here and I'm going to go to transform selection. And I'm going to bring this from the left to the right. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to hit the delete key because I'm just on a new layer and we're just deleting things away. You know what, you can see I'm a little bit off right there. Not actually a big deal being a little bit off. All I have to do is just grab my lasso tool again. All right, click in there. All right, hit enter to make that selection and then hit delete. Okay, so I've got this looking pretty good. It's still covering my letters, not a big deal. let's just use our marquee tool and then hit delete there. All right, to delete that. And then, you know what? We just want this to be white. So all we have to do to make this white is to turn it into a selection, or we can lock the transparency of it. I'm going to hit Shift Delete, and we're going to go use white. All right, perfect. So now you guys can see how clean this really does look, because this line is a continuation of the A, this line is a continuation of that A, and this space is exactly the same as that space. So it is perfectly symmetrical, and everything comes together very well. So we've got our logo. It looks great. If you wanted to put it on a website or a letterhead or something like that, it's perfect because it's in 2D. But it's not quite ready to be put on the side of a truck yet, because I need something that's going to actually fill up like a rectangle like this. It's going to be on the side of a truck. So if I just have a dinky little logo on one side, that's not good. I need something else in that area as well. So we're going to jump into the image, going here to our background layer, and I want to make a selection that's going to basically look like the side of a truck. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want a pretty good estimate here. So making my selection around this area, I know that I can probably warp it to make it look like it's actually in this area. So we'll start off with this selection. If it works, perfect. If not, we can always come back and change this. Okay, now on a new layer here, I'm going to go ahead and fill this with a color. So let's go ahead and change our foreground color, maybe make it a little bit darker. There we go. And I'm going to hit Shift Delete to bring up my fill dialog and fill this with our foreground color. Okay, there we go. So that's our blue. Now we're going to make this group 1, which is our logo, visible. So I want to line these up. Basically, I want to put this on the bottom left of my blue area. Stick it on the bottom left of the blue. Why not? So I'm going to use my alignment tools to get it there. So to use alignment tools, this is the logo here, and this is a blue background. I'm going to shift click on the two of those different layers. I'm going to click on my move tool, and then I can click on all my different alignment tools I have up here at the top. If I click on this right side, it's going to align them to the right. Center is going to do the center. I can center it again. I could go to the bottom line. I could go over to the right. So I have a lot of different options when it comes to actually fitting this into my image if I wanted to do it by the top. So we're going to go to the left and then all the way down to the bottom. It's just a very good thing to know how to use these alignment tools. That way, you know, without that, basically I would be like, let's put it on the bottom, and I'd have to like zoom in and try to get it there. Now I can just put like, all right, it's in the exact center, or it's on the left and on the bottom. Cool, it's good to know. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hit Cmd T, and we're gonna bring this down. There we go, just to the top of that. That looks pretty good. And then we're gonna get some text in there as well. So for the text, we're thinking something that would serve as a slogan. So with the type tool, I'm going to type in, you know what, let's just change, I can already see our size is way too big. Our family, space to yours. All right, now nothing about this is correct because it fills up our entire image. So let's go ahead, I'm in our character menu here. We're going to change our tracking between letters. We're going to change that to 0, which just fixes the space between our letters. All right. We're going to change our size up to maybe about 40 points because we want this to be quite a bit smaller. And I'm going to change my font as well. Now, I've already gone through and kind of like looked at the fonts that I actually want for this. So I'm going to choose something like Gill Sans semi-bold. There we go. Now, again, this is one of those things where if it takes you longer to actually get this stuff done and like looking through your images and whatnot, that's what I would consider totally normal. I have already done this, which means that I can do it relatively quickly. All right, let's make that a little bit bigger. Our family to yours. There we go. And now we're going to just try, I'm going to bring this in as well. So we're going to bring the blue in just a little bit. Perfect. And I think we're all ready to go to apply this onto our truck. So we created our logo, we've got our slogan in there, and we're ready to stick it on the side of the truck. So what we're going to do, here we've got our 3 layers. Our family to yours, this AA logo, and the blue background. So let's shift click all the 3 of those. I'm going to group them together, Command or Control G. We're going to double click here, and I'm going to just call this logo. All right, now let's delete this color fill layer because it's just here so I can see what I'm actually doing while I create the logo. So we'll delete that, and now it's time to stick this layer onto our truck. All right, so here's a little tip. Anytime I'm gonna do like a big transformation in Photoshop, I like to create duplicates of my groups. It just makes it a lot easier. If I mess up, I can go back, it's no big deal. So my logo, I'm gonna hit Ctrl or Command J on there. Now I have 2 different copies, and I'm just gonna start working with the logo copy here. So all of these are in different layers which are nested in the same group. And you can definitely edit an image just like this if you want to. All right, if you feel more comfortable merging these together, you can hit Ctrl or Command E, as in elephant, and then you have all of your logos and everything like that. Now you can see they're on one layer instead of a group. So you can do it either ways. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and place this logo here on our truck. What we're gonna do is hit Ctrl or Command T, which is gonna bring up our transform tool. So Ctrl or Command T. Next, what we're gonna see are little areas here on the top and each of the corners. So the sides and the corners, these are our transform areas. So I can click and drag this up or down. You can see it's basically stretching it in or out. Now, let's hit escape. If I hit Command T and then click on one of these corners holding the Control or the Command key, what it's gonna do is it's actually gonna allow me to pull these corners anywhere that I want. In this case, I know exactly where they're gonna go. This is going to go right up here on the top of that truck right there. This one's going to go right here on the bottom of the truck. Okay, so you can see I'm literally just like pulling these and placing them where they need to go. Again, keep in mind I'm holding the Control or the Command key to make sure everything stays in the right place. All right, and we're going to pull that up too. So I'm basically making perspective with just using my Control or Command keys. I can still grab any of these corners if I'd like and move them around. But in this case, I've chosen to do this corner, that corner, that corner, and that corner. All right, let's hit that checkbox, and that actually looks really good. Now, the one thing I'd like to do, just to help it blend, you can see that like the color of the truck, I want these two to blend in a little bit better. Right now, it just looks like Photoshop was slapped over a truck. It doesn't look like the logo is a part of the truck itself. So we're gonna change our blend mode. I'm gonna go from normal down here to multiply, which is going to allow, basically this logo is gonna try to darken anything it touches, right? So in this case, it's not going to mess with all these darker areas because it's not darkening them. So we can actually see all the little rivets and details through the logo itself, which helps make the text look a lot more realistic. Now, we need a little bit of a blur on this logo as well, because the original photo wasn't perfectly sharp, and the logo is perfectly sharp. So we can see a little bit of blur. Let's just go to Filter, Blur, and then down to Gaussian Blur. All right, come down just a little bit on there. All right, and something like that, like a 1 pixel blur. Let's just click the preview the before and the after. Let's see this here is compared to like this area here. So there's the before and the after. It just kind of sets it in the image a little bit better and makes it look like it's the same resolution of the rest of the photo. All right, that looks pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at the final. All right, guys, here's the before and the after. All right, guys, and that's all there is to creating a logo and then applying it onto a truck in perspective. How cool is that? Just remember these key points when you're starting from scratch. Don't be afraid to play with text in Photoshop. I just used an A and then transformed it so the right side was straight up and down. Then we flipped it around and added a triangle cap, making it look like it's a mountain and bringing the logo together. Then we created a size guide for the truck so we'd have a rough idea of where we actually wanted to fill in the rest of our graphic. We used the type tool to create a little slogan and then wrap that all in a big blue banner. Next, we took that banner and applied it onto the truck using the transform tool. I held Control or Command and clicked on each of the corners of our graphic and pulled them to the corners of the truck. That applies it in perfect perspective. To pull things together, we used a multiply blending mode and a Gaussian blur, which matched the resolution of the logo to the resolution of the original image. Thanks so much for watching Phlearn, guys. I hope you had fun with this episode. I most certainly did. I got to get an AA logo out of this. If you love Photoshop and photography like I do, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can click on your screen right now. What do you get? Well, I'll tell you. You get free Photoshop and photography episodes every single week delivered to your YouTube inbox. We don't send spam or any of that stuff. It's just really great quality Photoshop and photography tutorials. And if you have an idea for a question, I didn't mean to say that. If you have an idea for an episode or a question about today's episode, leave it in a comment right down below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll Phlearn you later. Bye, everyone. All right, and then to pull things together, we used a If you have an idea for someone you'd like to ask a question to about an idea that you had, please tell me below. If your grandmother had an idea in her sleep the other day and you'd like to find someone to tell it about to, please leave it in a comment down below. Our family to yours. AA Trucking Company. Our family to yours. For generations.